you ever found yourself in that really familiar modern situation, that kind of deep fatigue that just, sticks with you, makes everything feel like climbing a mountain?
Yeah.
Or maybe you've looked in the mirror and thought, gosh, my skin just looks flat, not vibrant at all.
Right, lackluster.
Exactly. And so many of us deal with that uncomfortable bloating after eating, or, find ourselves grabbing another coffee before the first one's even cold just to get through the day.
It's the default, isn't it? Just push through.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then finally, bedtime rolls around, you put your head on the pillow, and good, restful sleep. It feels like a distant dream.
Happens to so many.
It really does. For a huge number of us, these aren't just occasional things. They're like the background noise of everyday life. It's this pervasive feeling, isn't it? Like a modern condition that leaves us feeling kind of stuck, less than our best.
Yeah, a cycle.
Well, what if the answer, or at least part of the answer, to these really common, seemingly stubborn problems wasn't some complicated routine or, a fancy gadget? What if it was something surprisingly simple? Something, ancient, totally natural, healthy, and maybe even transformative.
Okay, I'm listening.
Today, we are taking a deep dive into a pretty unassuming, but potentially incredibly powerful natural drink: coconut water. We're going to explore a really fascinating question, one you might be asking yourself. What actually happens if you drink coconut water every single day?
And that's exactly our mission for this deep dive. We're not just talking hypothetically here. We're going to explore the potential effects of daily coconut water through a real-life story, a very relatable personal journey, actually. And then we'll connect that experience back to the science, the why behind it, helping you understand how these small, consistent, natural habits can genuinely lead to pretty significant changes.
Right.
Our goal is really to cut through all the noise out there, pull out the key insights from the story and the science, and give you a really solid, informed look at something that honestly might change up your daily wellness routine.
Okay, let's start this deep dive by meeting Mira. Just picture her, a young woman, bright, intelligent, dealing with the daily grind in a busy office.
Right.
But this wasn't some huge impersonal city. It was a smaller, lively coastal town in South India. And her story, as we'll see, really holds up a mirror for so many of us listening. Because despite being young, despite the nice setting, Mira was carrying this quiet, persistent burden, a bunch of symptoms that I think many people will instantly recognize.
Okay.
Her daily routine was, let's just say it was draining, physically and mentally. By the time evening hit, she wasn't just tired, she had this chronic fatigue, like deep in her bones, totally wiped out.
Wow. Yeah.
And her skin, it should have had that youthful glow, right? But instead, it consistently looked dull, almost lifeless.
Yeah.
It just lacked that healthy look.
Yeah, that vibrancy that signals good health.
Exactly. And digestion-wise, it was constant trouble. Poor digestion was always there, leading to frequent, really uncomfortable bloating that made her feel heavy and sluggish all the time.
That's miserable.
Totally.
Yeah.
So to fight the morning slump, just to sort of launch herself into the day, Mira had become really dependent on strong coffee, often more than one cup.
The crutch.
It really was. Not just something she enjoyed, it was essential. Her daily fuel just to push through. But like with stimulants, it had a downside.
Always does.
Despite being so exhausted during the day, when night came, she just couldn't sleep properly, tossing and turning for hours.
Oh, the worst combination. Tired but wired.
Exactly. She was trapped in this awful cycle, totally drained by day, artificially propped up, and then unable to get real rest at night. Just this loop that left her feeling depleted, far from her best self, desperate for a way out.
It's really striking how closely Mira's situation matches what we hear all the time today. That pattern, the chronic fatigue, the digestive issues, relying on stimulants just to function, the sleep problems. It's almost like the signature of modern life for so many.
It really is.
Her starting point is something that I bet resonates deeply with a lot of people listening, maybe even sparking a little self-recognition, And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why do so many of us feel this way? What basic parts of our well-being are we, maybe, overlooking or just not supporting properly in our busy lives?
That's a huge question.
Mira's situation is kind of a powerful reminder, I think. We often look for these complex, maybe high-tech, often expensive solutions.
Right. The next big thing.
Exactly. When maybe, just maybe, the answers sometimes lie in much simpler, more fundamental things, like nature and basic self-care. It suggests there's maybe a disconnect in how we're actually fueling ourselves day to day.
So Mira's stuck in this really draining cycle, getting pretty desperate. And then, kind of out of the blue, something shifts. A catalyst appears.
Okay.
But it wasn't, a doctor with a complicated plan or some intense health program she found online. It was much simpler, much more personal. Her grandmother came to visit.
Grandmothers.
Exactly. Grandmothers often have this unique wisdom, right? A way of just seeing things, looking past the surface stuff to what's really going on.
They do. That quiet observation.
And Mira's grandmother, she immediately noticed the tiredness in Mira's face, the lack of sparkle in her eyes, that sort of dullness to her skin. And with this gentle smile, full of compassion and experience, she gave Mira some advice. Advice that would eventually change everything. She didn't lecture or scold, didn't offer some quick fix.
No magic bullet.
Nope. She just said, very quietly, very wisely, Mira, your body is asking for nature, not coffee.
Wow. Simple, but profound.
Right. And it wasn't just a vague saying. Her recommendation was super specific and honestly almost ridiculously simple, especially given how complex Mira's problems seemed.
Yeah, was it?
She said, start drinking fresh coconut water every morning for a month and just see what happens.
That's it?
That's it. Think about that for a second. Mira's dealing with crippling fatigue, dull skin, major digestive issues, constant bloating, terrible sleep, a whole cluster of modern problems.
Yeah, high list.
And the proposed fix, 1 glass of coconut water every day.
It does seem almost too simple, given everything else.
Doesn't it? In a world that's constantly pushing complex supplements, really restrictive diets, fancy wellness protocols, this suggestion feels almost, old-fashioned, too easy to actually work.
And that leads right into Mira's first reaction, which, let's face it, is totally understandable, very human.
Completely.
When her grandmother suggested this, apparently Mira just laughed. She couldn't really process it. Like, how could 1 glass of coconut water, She probably thought, possibly fix all this.
Right. Change my whole life.
Exactly. And that skepticism is so relatable. It taps right into that tendency we all seem to have. When we face complex problems, we look for equally complex solutions.
We really do.
We chase the latest scientific thing, the most detailed diet, the fanciest supplement, and in doing that, we often completely miss the quiet power of simplicity, especially when it comes straight from nature. What's fascinating is that initial resistance to something natural and straightforward, even from someone trusted like a grandmother, it really shows how conditioned we are to think that big change must come from big effort or big expense or some complicated intervention.
Yeah, it's a hard mindset to shake.
It really is.
But, despite her initial reaction, despite laughing it off a bit, Mira had this deep, unshakable trust in her grandmother.
That bond.
Exactly. That trust, maybe mixed with a little bit of desperation for any kind of relief, pushed her to take a leap of faith.
Okay.
She decided, even though it went against her instincts, to actually try this unconventional, super simple experiment. It wasn't just trying something new. It was like stepping onto a totally different path.
Letting go of preconceived notions.
Totally. Kind of a quiet rebellion against all the complexity she thought she needed, and just stepping into the unknown, guided only by her grandmother's gentle wisdom.
I like that. A quiet rebellion.
So the ritual started. A new, simple part of her day. The very next morning, Mira, maybe still a bit skeptical, but definitely curious now, went to a local street vendor. Common sight there.
Fresh coconuts right there.
Yep. Bought a fresh green coconut, felt its coolness, and then, maybe with a mix of hope and hesitation, drank the clear water inside.
And how was it?
She described the taste later as sweet and cool, like nature in a glass. Said it was instantly refreshing and felt surprisingly pure.
Nice.
And she kept doing it. The next day and the day after. No big drama, just this small, consistent habit starting to take hold, turning into part of her routine.
The power of consistency.
Exactly. Just that daily repetition, a little commitment to herself. And then things started to happen. The first little signs of change, subtle at first, but definitely there. After only 1 week, just 7 days of this simple routine, Mira noticed something pretty amazing.
Okay, what was it?
Her skin. The skin that had been so dull and lifeless, it started to glow. Like a natural brightness coming back, as if an internal light had been switched on.
Wow, after only a week.
Yeah. And the changes weren't just skin deep. She felt different inside too. She felt fresh, even after a full day at the office, which was totally different from the usual evening exhaustion that used to hit her like a ton of bricks.
That's a big shift.
Huge. And that heavy, bloated feeling in her stomach, it had lessened noticeably. Her digestion already felt smoother, lighter,
Interesting. Quick results.
and the impact was clear enough that it wasn't just her noticing. Her friends started commenting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were asking her if she was using some fancy new beauty cream or if she'd been on vacation somewhere relaxing. They had no idea it was just the coconut water.
Huh. That's great validation.
She said her quiet smile was pretty much her only answer. What I found really interesting here was how those internal changes became so visible so quickly. Is that something you see often when people address things naturally?
Oh, absolutely. It's often the clearest sign that something fundamental is improving internally. When your body gets properly hydrated, gets the nutrients it needs, it shows on the outside.
Makes sense.
The skin is our largest organ, right? It's like a mirror to our internal health. When cells are hydrated, when waste is being flushed efficiently, you see it clearer, brighter skin. It's a powerful proof that something real is happening inside, sometimes even before you fully register the change yourself.
Right, like external confirmation.
Exactly. It moves beyond just feeling better. It becomes an observable reality.
So Mira continues her daily coconut water into week 2, and the changes start getting even deeper, going beyond just looking better to like real physiological shifts.
Okay.
Her digestion, remember that was a huge issue, always needing antacids. It improved so much that she just stopped needing them.
Wow. No more antacids. That's significant.
Isn't it? Imagine the relief, freedom from that constant discomfort, the worry, the need for medication. Just from this simple natural drink, it was solid proof her body was finding its balance again.
And what's really striking there is how fast the body responded. It was getting something fundamental. It was missing maybe hydration, maybe electrolytes, maybe both. It highlights the body's incredible ability to self-correct when you give it the right resources. Coconut water is very bioavailable. The body can easily absorb and use its nutrients. So it's not just masking symptoms, it's potentially restoring the underlying processes.
That makes a lot of sense. She also started feeling this sense of lightness all over, that heavy, sluggish feeling she always had. It just started lifting. She felt physically easier, more comfortable. And this wasn't just physical. Her mind, which used to feel kind of cluttered and restless, started to feel calmer.
Quieter.
Mental clarity, too. Yeah, more clarity, better focus, just feeling more peaceful in her own head.
That's huge. The mind-body connection is so strong.
Totally. And maybe the biggest shift of all, breaking that coffee dependence.
Ah, the coffee cycle.
Remember, she needed to function, to get going. But by the end of week 2, she realized something incredible. She didn't need it anymore.
Just didn't feel the need.
Nope. The chronic fatigue was gone, replaced by this steady, natural energy that lasted all day. No more spikes and crashes, just balanced, authentic energy.
You know, that specific point really makes you think, doesn't it? About our body's real energy needs versus what we usually reach for, especially in our culture.
Right. What's the default?
Are we using stimulants like coffee just to cover up a deeper need, maybe for better hydration or better cellular function or the right nutrient balance? Mira's experience strongly suggests that natural, sustained energy is the body's preferred state if we give it what it needs foundationally, instead of just relying on temporary boosts that often mess with sleep or cause anxiety.
Yeah, it's like working with your body instead of against it.
Precisely. Trusting its innate ability to regulate itself, given the right support.
So the end of these 2 weeks was this really pivotal moment for Mira, a real personal breakthrough. One evening, she felt surprisingly energetic, finished her work early, which never used to happen.
Right.
She stood up, caught her reflection in a mirror, and she didn't see the usual tired, dull, stressed out version of herself.
What did she see?
She saw someone smiling, vibrant, genuinely healthy looking back. It wasn't just looking better. It felt like her inner vitality, her inner peace was actually radiating outwards. She just described it as feeling magical.
I bet it felt magical, considering where she started, but connecting it back, it's not really magic in the supernatural sense, is it?
No, not really.
It's about reclaiming your vitality. It's about the body's amazing power to heal and regenerate when we give it what it needs through small, consistent acts of self-care that align with its natural design.
Yeah.
Mira's story is such a powerful example that real, lasting change often comes from simple, sustainable practices that let the body find its natural balance again, not always the complex, difficult stuff.
Right. Sometimes the most profound changes come from the simplest things. So Mira's transformation, as she said herself, it wasn't actual magic. It was something more reliable, more grounded, the undeniable power of nature, which brings us to the big question, the core of this deep dive. Okay, so what's the science here? How did plain old coconut water trigger such big positive changes in her body and well-being? Let's get into the why.
Okay, let's unpack it. At its heart, coconut water is absolutely loaded with natural electrolytes. Now, electrolytes aren't just buzzwords, they're essential minerals.
Right, things like potassium.
Exactly. Potassium is a big one, and magnesium too, which your sources highlighted. But it also contains others like sodium, calcium, phosphate. They all work together for fluid and electrical balance in the body.
Right.
Potassium is dominant inside our cells. It's crucial for fluid balance, nerve signals, muscle contractions, including the heart, and it helps balance out sodium to manage blood pressure.
Ah, the blood pressure connection.
Yes. And magnesium. It's involved in like over 300 enzyme reactions. Everything from making energy ATP, our body's fuel, to regulating muscles and nerves, controlling blood sugar, and even calming the nervous system, which definitely links back to Mira feeling calmer.
Wow. Okay, so they do a lot.
A huge amount. And these electrolytes are critical for proper hydration. And I mean, true hydration, not just drinking water. We're talking hydration at the cellular level.
Cellular level, how does that work?
Well, electrolytes basically allow water to move efficiently into and out of your cells. It's called osmotic balance. They ensure every cell gets nourished, gets nutrients, and can get rid of waste properly.
Got it. So the cells function better.
Exactly. When cells are hydrated like that, they just work better at everything. And this good hydration, plus the minerals, also really helps flush out toxins and metabolic waste. Our kidneys depend heavily on the right fluid and electrolyte balance to filter waste from our blood effectively. Plus, good hydration supports the lymphatic system, which is key for waste removal and immunity. When everything's flowing well, detoxification works better, leading to clearer skin, more energy, that feeling of lightness Mira had.
Okay, that connects a lot of dots. Detoxification isn't just about cleanses, it's about basic function.
Absolutely. It's about supporting the body's natural processes. And beyond hydration and detox, coconut water has another cool property. It actually helps cool the body from the inside.
Cools the body, like literally.
Yes, it helps regulate core body temperature, which is especially helpful for someone like Mira in a warm place like coastal South India. Feeling internally cooler can impact energy levels and comfort significantly.
That makes sense, especially in the heat.
And remember that potassium we talked about? It also directly supports heart health by helping manage blood pressure. It works with other minerals to balance sodium's effects, promoting healthy blood vessels. It's a really important systemic benefit.
So it's doing good things for the heart too. That's impressive for just water from a coconut.
It really is surprisingly comprehensive.
And here's something else that really stands out about coconut water. Its nutritional profile is incredibly clean. It's naturally very low in calories, which is great if you're mindful of intake, doesn't leave you feeling heavy. And crucially, a huge point today, absolutely no added sugar.
Zero added sugar. That's key.
Totally different from so many drinks out there loaded with hidden sugars that lead to energy crashes and other health problems down the line.
Right.
And maybe most importantly now, with all the artificial stuff around, it has no chemicals, no artificial flavors, no preservatives, nothing synthetic. It's just pure natural goodness.
It really is just nature's formula.
It's almost like nutritional minimalism, right? Getting what you need without any of the junk that can mess things up. That simplicity is kind of its superpower.
Absolutely. And that purity combined with the electrolytes, minerals, even some plant compounds like cytokinins, which have potential anti-aging benefits for skin.
Oh, interesting.
It all adds up to this cumulative effect. When you drink it consistently, daily, your body isn't just getting a temporary fix. It's actually starting a process of deeper healing and rebalancing.
So it's building up over time.
Exactly. You're consistently giving your body these gentle, easy-to-use natural tools so your internal systems can recalibrate, optimize function, and genuinely heal.
Okay.
That's why Mira's results, the clearer skin, better digestion, balanced energy, aren't just random. They make perfect sense. It really showcases the body's amazing ability to heal itself when we consistently give it the right natural building blocks.
It really wants to be healthy, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Sometimes we just need to provide the right support and get out of its way.
So fast forward one whole month. Mira's been sticking to this incredibly simple habit every single day, and she finds herself just amazed, in genuine disbelief at the huge overall difference.
I can imagine.
That initial skepticism, laughing at her grandmother's idea, totally gone. Replaced by this feeling of wonder and just immense gratitude for how much her life had changed. It completely shifted her whole perspective on health.
A total paradigm shift.
Definitely. And the benefits were truly across the board, not just physical, but mental and emotional too. Physically, yeah, she lost a little weight, which felt good, made her feel lighter. But more than that, she just felt vibrant, like she was glowing from the inside. Mentally and emotionally, this deep sense of peace had settled in. The brain fog, the restlessness, the low-level anxiety, gone, replaced by calm and clarity.
That's priceless.
Totally. And the sleep problems.
Yeah.
Ancient history. She was sleeping soundly, deeply, waking up feeling genuinely refreshed and ready for the day. Even her expression changed. That constant frown was replaced by a natural, easy smile. Her whole vibe radiated health and happiness.
It sounds like a complete transformation.
It really was. And it led her to this deep realization, this fundamental shift in how she saw this simple drink. She thanked her grandmother profusely, of course, for her wisdom.
Naturally.
And she made this promise to herself, kind of a personal vow. From today, coconut water is not just a drink. It is my morning medicine.
Wow. Elevating it to medicine.
Yeah. It wasn't just casual anymore. It became essential, a core part of her wellness routine, showing her commitment to consistently nurturing herself with nature's gifts.
And, these kinds of personal transformations, especially when they come from something simple and shareable, often don't stay personal. They tend to ripple outwards.
How so?
Well, Mira's story became this powerful, real-life example, and she naturally started sharing it with her friends, encouraging them to try it, especially if they had similar struggles.
Right, because it worked so well for her.
Exactly. And amazingly, they started seeing positive changes too. Better energy, better digestion, clearer skin. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How one person's positive habit, when shared authentically, can actually spark a wider wellness shift in a community.
Yeah, that's a powerful thought, like wellness being contagious.
It can be. It shows that big change often starts small, with one person, and then spreads organically.
And this really brings us, and hopefully you listening, to the core truth that Mira fully grasped. A really powerful insight. Small natural habits can make big changes in life.
Simple, but so true.
It sounds almost too simple, but the implications are huge. We don't always need massive overhauls, complicated science, or expensive treatments to make real, lasting improvements in our health and happiness. Sometimes, the biggest results come from the smallest, most consistent daily choices. That, honestly, is the key takeaway, the most important piece of wisdom from Mira's incredible journey. So if you're listening right now, and maybe Mira's starting point sounded familiar, if you're also feeling tired all the time or heavy, or your skin feels dull, or you just generally feel off your game.
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe, your body is trying to tell you something similar. Maybe, like Mira's grandmother gently suggested, your body is simply asking for nature.
It's worth considering.
So we want to offer you a gentle challenge inspired by Mira's story. Think about trying this super simple habit. Just one glass of fresh, pure coconut water every morning, maybe just for a week to start.
A low-commitment experiment.
Exactly. It's a small step, but it might hold the potential for some really surprising, positive results for you personally.
And if you do decide to try it, we really encourage you to pay close attention. Be mindful. Don't just drink it and forget it. Really listen to your body. Notice the subtle signals. How do you feel physically? Energy levels, digestion, skin. And mentally? Clarity, mood. Watch for any changes, even small ones, and just feel the difference.
Yeah, tune in.
Exactly. Connecting this back, it's all about self-experimentation, really learning to listen to your own body's wisdom and recognizing how incredibly responsive it can be to consistent, natural support.
And remember, in a world that's constantly pushing complicated fixes, artificial solutions, pills for everything, it's a really powerful, timeless truth that Mira's story brings to light.
Which is?
Health doesn't always come in those neat little bottles or expensive tablets or the latest miracle cure from a lab.
Sometimes with all its natural purity, its energy, its simple power, it quite literally comes in a coconut.